Mikel Arteta has fixed Arsenal's attack. There's been a slight tweak in system that has allowed the Gunners to have more bodies in the attacking area. Also, there's been the return to form of the likes of Martin Ødegaard, Gabriel Martinelli, Bukayo Saka, Jesus is back from injury, but Arsenal look like a much better attacking unit right now. Welcome back to the Premier League review. I'm of course Statman Dave. If you are new around here, make sure you subscribe, but also get into the comments. Who's been Arsenal's most important player in the last few weeks? Because you could throw in the likes of Tomiyasu, Trossard, or even Martin Ødegaard. So let's go back to the problems that Arsenal were facing. After about 8 games in the Premier League, Arsenal ranked 8th for goals scored and expected goals. Compared to last season, they were comfortably in the first and second positions in the Premier League with Manchester City throughout the entire year. Teams have started to figure out Arsenal's attacking structure. Obviously, the structure we're talking about is that kind of 3-2 shape that we saw last season, building with 3 players at the back, Zinchenko inverting and joining the defensive midfielder, and Arsenal really attacking with 5 players. One of the things when you're looking at evolutions and how to move teams on, especially in that attacking area as teams do play back 5s against Arsenal, throwing extra bodies into the attack becomes super important. One of the big things I think Arteta's changed in recent weeks with the introduction to Tomiyasu into the side is moving more to a kind of 4-1-4-1 structure where both fullbacks at the right time will actually overlap the winger in more opportunities and then look to get crosses into the box for the rest of the attackers on the other side of the pitch to join in. That's obviously come from Tomiyasu at right fullback, but also Zinchenko, who's playing slightly wider in recent games. And I think one of the benefits of that is when Arsenal do get to the final third with their 5 attackers, there's another attacker that's going to join from deep. We saw that brilliant combination play between Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko for Ødegaard's goal on the edge of the box. More on that later on. But adding that extra attacker in the final third really allows you to overload the opposition's backline, especially when you're playing 5-man defences, that Arsenal have found they're playing more of those this season. Of course, if you become second in the Premier League, next season teams are going to be more defensive against you, which means you've got to be more offensive. Arteta's had a great learning experience working under Pep Guardiola at Manchester City. Of course, over Guardiola's years in the Premier League, teams have become more and more defensive against them. And even in the Champions League, where Diego Simeone played a 5-5-0 against them in the Champions League. 5 players at the back, 5 players in midfield, and literally nobody up front. So adding another attacker in there, be it Zinchenko on the left-hand side when the ball's getting switched, or alternatively Tomiyasu on the right-hand side, has really added value to Arsenal's attack. And I think this is the first reason why Arsenal's attack is massively improved in recent games. When we're talking about recent games, we're kind of diving into the long game, the 6-0 win for Arsenal, where they had 6 different goal scorers, and of course the performance against Wolverhampton Wanderers. In back-to-back games, Arsenal created an expected goals of over 2.5 for the first time this season. And I think one of the big reasons why it's thrown that extra fullback into the attack. We saw it at times with Ben White for Arsenal last season where he'd overload the right-hand side, he'd drive into the final third and he'd get crosses into the box, obviously highlighted by his 5 assists. But I think the big change this season has come from Zinchenko playing that high and wide role more times, which allows Arsenal to have real duality in the final third. They can overload the opponent's backline with 5 players and then they throw the fullback in from deep on both sides now, which creates massive overloads. And this was really highlighted on the right-hand side with Tomiyasu's performance against Lens. He was actually higher than Bukayo Saka from an average position perspective, getting into the final third and making things happen. He finished off the game with 2 assists. Of course, one came from a clearance out wide to Martinelli cutting in and scoring. But focusing on the Ødegaard goal, it came from Tomiyasu providing width and overlapping Saka, crossing into the box and allowing Ødegaard to attack it late and volley into the bottom corner. This was a brilliant goal. This was kind of classic Arteta's Arsenal, flooding the penalty area with bodies, Ødegaard just arriving at the right time after a cross from a wide area. Last season we saw those crosses more coming from Saka and Martinelli, whereas this season we're seeing the likes of Ben White before his injury, then Tomiyasu and now Zinchenko as well, providing width in the final third. That real duality and Arsenal's structure slightly changing, kind of having one true defensive midfielder in games. That's not to say that we will also see Zinchenko move inside. There was a brilliant performance for Zinchenko against Everton where very much he kind of sat and played as that left defensive midfielder, that inverted playmaker, driving in from fullback, creating chances or, linking with his teammates from that position. That the Everton game was an example of him going long in certain moments. But I do quite like this new Arsenal shape where there's kind of a duality of threat from both fullbacks, that at the right time, given the right moment, they will overlap. Highlighted by the statistics, Tomiyasu's got 3 assists in his last 2 games and arguably could have had a 4th one if Gabriel Jesus wasn't getting pulled back in the penalty area against Wolverhampton Wanderers. He created 3 chances in the game against Lens, creating 1 big chance and getting 2 assists. And of course, the next game against Wolverhampton Wanderers got himself an assist after winning the ball back in the final third. But I also think the duality of this 4-1-4-1 shape is really good for Arsenal. When the ball's on the right-hand side, you've got Tomiyasu who can overlap. He can also sit and hold his position, allowing the attackers to use the width of the pitch. But on the other side, you will see Zinchenko tuck in. So you're basically creating a bit of a kind of WM shape in possession, where Arsenal are basically built with these 2 fullbacks inside, but also they're overlapping on the outside. It really means that opposition defences don't know where these 2 players are going to be, and for me, a big reason why we've seen a return to form for Arsenal. The second reason why Arsenal have returned to form is a simple one from an attacking sense, and that is Martin Ødegaard getting back into fitness. He's missed parts of the season with a hip injury and a concussion. Martin Ødegaard, though, is one of the best attackers in the world of football at attacking the D, the edge of the box. He is so good at getting the end of a cutback after one of the wingers has dribbled their man, or alternatively, as we mentioned previously, one of the fullbacks overlapping on either flank. Martin Ødegaard is deadly from those areas. But also when we look at Martin Ødegaard, it's not just about the goal scoring that he really adds to the Arsenal attack when he is in form. He dictates the attack in the final third as well. We saw some brilliant passes against Wolverhampton Wanderers. One over the top for Trossard from just inside the inside right channel. Then we saw 2 brilliant through balls. One was a flick round the corner to Trossard, an unbelievable bit of skill. Another one was a simple through ball to Eddie Nketiah when he had been brought on, who should have scored. Simple movement, great ball from Martin Ødegaard, creating a chance. In fact, in the game, he was brilliant in terms of a creative sense. A brilliant performance from the inside right channel. He created 6 chances, 3 big chances against Wolverhampton Wanderers, and should have come away with an assist. He also completed more passes than any other player on the pitch. Most passes overall, but also most passes in the final third. He was absolutely dominant in that area. And I think one of the big things, obviously, Ødegaard's form this season has been hit by injuries, and having that run in the team and being fit has been a bit of a problem for him. But I also think that midfield partner as well has been a bit of a problem. We spoke about how good Granit Xhaka has been this season. He's someone that I don't think Arsenal have still replaced. We looked at 3 players that could go and replace him in this video here if you want to check that out. But what, of course, Arteta's been doing in recent games has been kind of playing around with different combinations of central midfielders. Against Wolverhampton Wanderers, Leandro Trossard, in fact, played central midfield. And I thought he had a really good game. Not only in attack, he had 5 shots on goal and created a chance, but defensively he was really good. He made more ball recoveries than any other player on the pitch, and that is testament to his ability to fit in. Not only did he squeeze high and press the ball in certain areas, but he helped out Declan Rice. I think one of the big things with Trossard is mobility in central midfield is slightly underrated. He's quite quick to spot an interception opportunity, reads the play and then nicks it up. From a defensive sense as well, we mentioned the ball recovery statistics. He won 3 out of his 5 tackles, but also made 3 interceptions. So obviously, in certain games when you need to stop the counter-attack or you want to stop pace, Trossard could be the one. In other matches, when you're overloading the opponent's backline, again, the game against Lens, you're going to go with maybe Kai Havertz, who's going to really provide something in the final third in terms of goal scoring and moving on that last line and simply linking the play. Those options for Martin Ødegaard are quite good. They're 2 quite different options, which allows the Norwegian international to play his natural game. We're going to take a look at his goal against Wolverhampton Wanderers, a classic Ødegaard goal arriving late at the right time. Arsenal, in fact, had possession for 50 seconds before they scored the goal. And one of the things I want you to focus on is what we spoke about before, that kind of 4-1-4-1 shape, and then Ødegaard arriving at the right moment to score a brilliant goal. So we pick up the play with Saka in possession on the right-hand side. We can see Arsenal's attacking structure. Saka, the nominal right winger, in a wide position with the ball on his left foot, looking potentially to cut inside or recycle possession. We've got Ødegaard, Jesus and Trossard in the sort of central 3 positions. Martinelli's just out of shot on the left wing. We've got fullback Tomiyasu, Declan Rice, and then we will see Zinchenko coming in a second. I think this 4-1-4-1 structure allows Arsenal to not only be more difficult to defend against in the final third with that late movement from fullback, but also defensively from a transitional perspective or a rest defence perspective. They're in a good structure. Fullback's nice and tucked in, ready to either make an attacking contribution or deal with the counter-attack. So let's move the play on. Of course, Wolverhampton Wanderers defended with a 5-3-2 defensive shape. What we mentioned previously, overloading back fives is going to be a key part of Arsenal's attacking play this season, and it will come from this 4-1-4-1 structure. So as Saka, receives the ball, he's got two players that are going to move out. One of the key things in overloading a back five is stretching that back five defence, but also moving the midfield line and creating space to rotate the possession of the ball in between those lines. So Saka uses Declan Rice at defensive midfield, who's been brilliant in recent games. I think his range of passing has been fantastic for Arsenal. We see him turn, play the ball back to Gabriel. We can clearly see that Zinchenko isn't really in a more natural defensive midfield position that we expect to see him when Arsenal do have him inverted. He's a little bit wider, which contributes to the attack a little bit later on. So Gabriel plays the ball out to Zinchenko, who looks to stretch the play again with Martinelli. One of the big things we're doing against the back five and that midfield three is really stretching the pitch. It's allowing Arsenal to really utilise the ball to move the opposition and try and tie them out to create those opportunities. Martinelli cuts back inside, plays it to Declan Rice, who plays a long switch of play, something that we saw they did for West Ham over and over again. Tomiyasu's in very much a supporting position. Ødegaard's made the run inside, which creates a really good 1v1 for Saka, who explodes on the outside, crosses to the back stick with his right foot. And this is where we kind of spoke about before, that extra attacker in the final third. As Saka's put the ball in the box, we can clearly see Arsenal's five-man attack. Martinelli, Ødegaard, Gabriel Jesus and Trossard. Again, there's interchange in positions. You see Martinelli, the nominal left winger, is in the inside right position. Arsenal's fluidity in attack has been great since Gabriel Jesus has come back. But as the ball breaks to the back post, we can clearly see Zinchenko joining the attack, plays a little 1-2 with Gabriel Jesus, fully overloading the Wolverhampton Wanderers shape. Really good bit of play from Jesus, and then the cutback is on. This is a classic Ødegaard position. When you do, penetrate the opposition's backline or get behind a back five, as we see now, it draws the entire back five back, but also the midfield as they're scrambling, which opens up that space on the edge for Ødegaard to simply sweep the ball home. But this is something that I think Arsenal are going to do more and more. When they're playing back fives, it's kind of more utilise the shape that we spoke about, that kind of different structure, the more 4-1-4-1 structure that we can see here for Arsenal. The front five made of Saka, Jesus, Martinelli, Trossard, who obviously from an average position perspective is slightly deeper because he did some really good defensive work, and of course Martin Ødegaard, with both fullbacks slightly wider but also contributing in the final third. You can see Tomiyasu's heat map there. It's quite red in the final third. Similar with Zinchenko, it's a lot wider than we expect him to be. Usually we see his average position when he's playing in that inverted role in the centre of the pitch. I think that's a big reason why Arsenal have returned to attacking form. Not only is the introduction of the fullbacks to the attacking lineup, Martin Ødegaard's return to form, but also as well, I think we've seen the best of Saka, Martinelli, because Gabriel Jesus is back. Yes, he's not scored the amount of goals you'd expect him to score as a number 9 playing for Arsenal. He's got 1 goal in 9 games this season, but he has been injured. But I think more importantly, moments like that we saw there with a little 1-2 that he played with Zinchenko to create the goal for Martin Ødegaard, that is where Gabriel Jesus is so good. He's brilliant when the ball gets played into his feet. He's dynamic, he's strong, he's great on the dribble, and also he's got an eye for a pass, as we saw with that Martin Ødegaard goal. He also kind of creates a bit of a decoy. We speak about false nines a lot. Jesus is a false nine. He drops off the line, which takes the attention away from midfield runners in there. Hence why we saw such good returns last season from Arsenal's midfield line, in the sense of last season in the Premier League. We had the 3 top scorers were Ødegaard, the number 10, Gabriel Martinelli, left winger, and Saka, the right winger. This season, of course, Arsenal haven't been, at their goal scoring best, and for me it's because Jesus has not been there. I think with Jesus back, we will see the likes of Saka and Martinelli really step up and start scoring more goals. But there are a few things there, of course. Injuries have been a big thing, have been hurting Arsenal's attack this season, but they are returning to form, and I think we're going to start to see the best attacking side of Arsenal over the Christmas period. But anyway, guys, get into the comments below. How do you think Arteta has fixed Arsenal attack? I've been Statman Dave. Subscribe if you're new. See you later. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, why not check out some more content on the Statman Dave YouTube channel?